For the application of TechCrete 2500, the surface preparation is paramount. As you can see, we need to hack open all the honeycomb with hammers and expose all weak areas of the concrete. Also, what we need to be done is we need to broom finish the surface, clean up the debris, loose latencies, and anything else which can basically hinders our penetration of TechCrete 2500 into the concrete. Very important is when we open all honeycombs and all loose covers, when the concrete doesn't have cover on the bars and cannot have enough of the 20 mm basically penetrating into the concrete and build the barrier that we need. When this cover is not thick enough, also doesn't have the 20 mm, these areas have to be opened, the bars has to be exposed, and we have to spray TechCrete 2500 behind the enforcement in all the loose parts, I mean all the hacked areas, to expose the real concrete so that we get the RC itself watertight. That is the most important thing. All loose bits and all latencies and anything which sits on the surface which are not structurally important to the RC, which is not the backbone of the actual physical concrete, needs to be removed so that basically I get the actual concrete watertight. As you can see, we sprayed basically into all the openings, into all the hacked areas and on the floor, and then we also structurally bond these planter box without the patching. Patching and grouting should never be part of the waterproofing. It should be only part of the beautification. When you see, we spray also loosely around this. This is a site which is very big. It's 40,000 meters square in areas where we have a lot of planter boxes and 12 towers and everything else. And you see other trades and other workers continue working where we spraying, because it is not important. You don't need to protect the area. It doesn't need to be cordoned off. You don't need to be worried about it. Even if people walk through the freshly applicated material, it is not a problem at all. On the left hand side, the gentleman in yellow and in white, you can see is our consultant, because during the application, the consultant has to be witnessing it, because otherwise afterwards we cannot see it's been applied. Now we're going to the watering. We just basically watering the first round after we sprayed the TechCrete 2500 and activating it therefore. After the watering, we basically will structurally bond the planter box to make sure it's watertight without the patching, without the grouting. That should be never part of the waterproofing. And most importantly is that that you now apply also the PUC. On this one, you can see that the patching has been done after the bonding test has been completed. So now we are just doing the finishing touches. We're doing the PU sealant around the joints, and we do a bituminous BU around the outlets. And we later on put a little acrylic around the upturns on the side of the planter box. This is the basic last finishes that you have to finish the planter box. These terminations in detail work is very important, because the problem with 2500 is that it does not bond in cavities and where plastic pipes are sticking through concrete, because there's a debonding layer where there's a big gap, and that gap has to be taken care of. Otherwise we have leaks through the cable channels and all the kind of different areas. So now we do the upturns. The upturns is a very simple acrylic upturn or PU upturn. In this case we do an acrylic, because inside the planter box later on we will have soil. We have no root protection, because 2500 is also protect the concrete that makes it granite hard. So we do not need extra root protection, extra screeding, extra protection of the slab or the walls. So the treatment for the upturns also are done outside in the same way then we have done inside, because these planter boxes particularly are not structurally bond to the structurally constructed the way with rebars to the ground floor slab, to the RC slab. It is basically loosely lying on top of the RC slab. So we have to make sure that the cold jointing is very, very important in this particular case, because we cannot build any water stop, because between the planter box and the old RC slab, there is no structural connection. In the south part of Malaysia, we talk about a post-tension slab, which is very big. It's about close to 20,000 meters square. And here we just show how we apply TechCrete 2500 in big even areas, which are not a water retaining structure, but just the surface. So we just basically clear the dust and debris from the surface. We already hacked open, or not hacked open, but we removed loose latencies and concrete residue on the surface. and then we spray TechCrete 2500 onto the surface in even motions via the normal pumping sprayer. This is for us important because in Asia, where we are from, the concrete has different absorption rates, and it's a very porous open concrete, mainly concrete 30, and has different absorption rate. When it's done by hand and slowly, it can be more administered properly. In certain areas where the concrete absorbs a lot of material, we need to be able to spray a bit more. Where the concrete absorbs less, we spray less over it. The general application rate still stays the same as required by Alchemco, but with certain areas needs a little bit more material when we have very porous and very open concrete. We then will do also the watering in the same way. So we don't pressure water, we don't put a lot of power with water onto the surface, because the person who watering the area wants to make sure that certain areas are flooded, certain areas have different absorption rates, so to make sure that no material has been washed out to the surface, that no material that from the TechCrete 2500 came out of the pores, and that the integrity of the system is guaranteed. In this particular video, we can see the new direction where construction is going, which is precast. This is a precast structure where everything is precasted in IBS systems in factories. So the idea is how to precast concrete. So this is basically the concrete topping on top of the precast panels, which we treat. So the precast itself is below. You can see the precast walls, but basically the precast system sits below, and then it's just a concrete topping. So in this case, we spray in the same way as you just seen TechCrete 2500 on top, the concrete cover on top of the precast panels. And we terminate, of course, the scupper drains in the areas on the side in the same way that we've seen. This is pre-sprayed with TechCrete 2500 and will be then just finished up with an acrylic PU membrane in this case.